Today is July 5th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we are going to continue our journey through the Doctor's Opinion by reading Roman numeral 29. And out of the 12 and 12, we're going to begin Step 2 by reading page 25. And of course, out of the Daily Reflections in 24 hours a day, we will be reading the July 5th edition. So with all that, my friends, hope you're doing well this morning. Life is good over here. I've got coffee in my Baby Yoda cup, or as some might call him, Grogu cup. But feeling good this morning. Just happy to be alive today and happy to be sober. So let's go ahead and press on and get to the good stuff. All right, so if you recall from yesterday's reading, we talked about a lot of interesting things in the Doctor's Opinion. He talks about he's been on the firing line for years, and many of his colleagues have been as well, and they've never seen anything quite like this new altruistic movement now growing up among them. And that's the movement that has been started by the members of the foundational members of Alcoholics Anonymous. And he talks about the allergy, the phenomena of craving yesterday. He mentions twice the essential idea that there must be an entire psychic change, or as he puts it in Roman numeral 28, their ideas must be grounded in a power greater than themselves to recreate their lives. So we're going to build on this idea on Roman numeral 29. On the other hand, and strange as this may seem to those who do not understand, once a psychic change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol. The only effort necessary being that required to follow a few simple rules. Men have cried out to me in sincere and despairing appeal, "Doctor, I cannot go on like this. I have everything to live for. I must stop, but I can't. You must help me." Faced with this problem, if a doctor is honest with himself, he must sometimes feel his own inadequacy. Although he gives all that is in him, it is often not enough. One feels that something more than human power is needed to produce the essential psychic change. Though the aggregate of recoveries resulting from psychiatric effort is considerable, we physicians must admit that we have made little impression upon the problem as a whole. Many types do not respond to the ordinary psychological approach. I do not hold with those who believe that alcoholism is entirely a problem of mental control. I have had many men who had, for example, worked a period of months on some problem or business deal which was to be settled on a certain date favorably to them. They took a drink a day or so prior to the date. Then the phenomenon of craving at once became paramount to all the other interests, so that the important appointment was not met. These men were not drinking to escape. They were drinking to overcome a craving beyond their mental control. Today we are beginning Step 2 in the 12 and 12. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. This is page 25. The moment they read Step 2, most AA newcomers are confronted with a dilemma, sometimes a serious one. How often have we heard them cry out, "Look what you people have done to us. You convinced us that we are alcoholics and that our lives are unmanageable, and having reduced us to that state of absolute helplessness, you now declare that none but a higher power can remove our obsession? Some of us won't believe in God. Others can't, and still others who do believe that God exists have no faith whatever that He'll perform this miracle. Yeah, you've got us over a barrel, all right. But where do we go from here? Let's first look at the case of one who says that he won't believe, the belligerent one. He is in a state of mind which can be described only as savage. His whole philosophy of life, in which he so gloried, is threatened. It's bad enough, he thinks, to admit alcoholism down for keeps. But now, still smarting from that admission, he's faced with something really impossible. How does he cherish the thought that man, risen so majestically from a single cell in the primordial ooze, is the spearhead of evolution and therefore the only God that his universe knows. Must he renounce all this to save himself? Daily Reflection, July 5th. A New Direction. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly. Every day is a day we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 45 and 85. I hear the talk of the weak-willed alcoholic, but I am one of the strongest-willed people on earth. I now know that my incredible strength of will is not enough to save my life. My problem is not one of weakness, but rather of direction. When I, without falsely diminishing myself, accept my honest limitations and turn to God's guidance, my worst faults become my greatest assets. My strong will, rightly directed, keeps me working until the promises of the program become my daily reality. 24 hours a day, July 5th. AA thought for the day. Until we came into AA, most of us tried desperately to stop drinking. We were filled with the delusion that we could drink like our friends. We tried time and time again to take it or leave it, but we could do neither. We always lapsed in a ceaseless, unhappy drinking. Families, friends, and employers threw up their hands in hurt, in bewilderment, in despair, and finally in disgust. We wanted to stop. We realized that every reason for drinking was only a crazy excuse. Have I given up every excuse for drinking? Meditation for the day. Many things can upset you, and you can easily get off track. But remember that God is near you all the time and ready to help you if you call on him. You cannot forever stand against God's will for you, nor can you forever upset God's plan for your life, even though God's plan may be postponed by your willfulness and deliberate choice of evil. A whole world of men and women cannot permanently change God's laws or his purpose for the universe. The sea of life may look very rough to us, but we can believe that our captain steers the boat on a straight course. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may try to steer a straight course. I pray that I may accept God's direction in my life's journey. All right, and today's daily reflection kind of ties into what we just read in the big book, talking about willpower, not quite being enough here. There needs to be, as Dr. Sokor says, a psychic change or a belief in a power greater than oneself. And that's kind of what July 5th's entry is talking about. Actually, the quote they put is from the big book. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. So in other words, human resources by willpower was not enough. They failed utterly. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. Every day. This is an ongoing program for me. That's something I'll never graduate from necessarily until I see those pearly gates, I guess. But every activity in my life. That sounds like a daunting task. But for me, it's really not. Most days, it's really not. Every morning I will try to wake up before my family wakes up. And I go to my favorite spot in the garage. It used to be the spot where I used to drink, which now it's the spot where I pray. There's a little, kind of small little couch in the garage, and I just get on my knees and I pray. And I pray the 3rd step prayer, and I try to pray the 7th step prayer. But once again, just asking God for his will to be done and for him to take away my difficulties daily, because you know what? I can pick these things back up at any time throughout the day, but on the flip side, if you screw up, guess what? You can start your day over at any time of the day as well and try your best to carry out the God of your understanding's will. But I love this line here in the daily reflections. When I, without falsely diminishing myself, accept my honest limitations and turn to God's guidance, My worst faults become my greatest assets. Our greatest weakness can become our greatest strength. If we're sober today, we can help another fellow alcoholic out there, and we can identify with them in a way that nobody else can. Somehow our worst faults become our greatest strength. And service project is not just limited to alcoholics. It could be anyone. My first ministry is my family, and I want to make living amends to them for the rest of my life. So how can I put their needs before my own? Can I call up, and I'm talking to me, can I call up one of my friends in one of the rooms? Just to check on them. Ask them if they need anything. On my job. I'm very blessed. I work with a lot of people throughout the day, and I can be of use to them today. So I just, there's ways we can help. There's ways we can be of service to others today. And our greatest weakness can become our greatest strength if we simply carry out His will for our lives. Now, I like this. My strong will, rightly directed, keeps me working until the promises of the program become my daily reality. And of course, we've read the promises this year twice, right? They can become daily realities when we direct our attention to the God of our understanding's will for our lives. Great stuff. But anyways, I have rambled on enough, guys. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I don't speak on behalf of AA or NA or any other sect or denomination. I'm just a friend in this lifeboat of recovery. And my friends, if you are sober today, you're a miracle. What a blessing it is just to be alive and sober today. And if we are given another today 24 hours, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.